Hello, hi everybody, welcome to my channel or welcome back to my channel. If you don't know me, my name is Victoria, you can call me Vic, and I'm so excited because today, as of filming this, it is finally September. Now, I know it's not technically fall yet. The autumn equinox, I think, is September 22nd, but there's just something about having finally made it to September, knowing that my favorite season of fall is coming, that just has me so excited. Now, in preparation for fall, I've decided to kind of make a bucket list of sorts for the fall season to encourage me to really get out and fully be present in the season. I've kind of had this goal over the past couple of years of really distancing myself from my phone and from spending too much time on TikTok or Reels or social media in general. One of the ways that I want to try to kind of encourage myself to get out, to really live my life versus spending time online watching other people live theirs, is to have these kind of bucket lists for each season. Things that I feel like are the pinnacle or the epitome of that season to encourage me to get out and really enjoy the moment. Now, without further ado, let's jump into the 100 fall bucket list ideas for this season. All right, number one, pretty basic, but it is camping. Camping is something I've always loved doing. It's something that I did all the time when I was a child with my dad, and fall is the absolute perfect time for it. Where I live in the South, in Arkansas, it is way too hot to go camping during the summertime, but fall is the absolute perfect weather for camping season. It's cool, and also nature is so beautiful during the fall. Now, number two is along that same line, and that is hiking. I absolutely adore hiking, and hiking in the fall is like nothing else. It just feels so peaceful, and I feel like when you're walking through a trail and the leaves are kind of falling gently around you, it really just sets the mood for the season. I absolutely love hiking. I encourage you to get out there and try hiking if you haven't before. It can be so much fun, and fall is just the perfect time for it. Number three, which is pretty stereotypical, but visit a pumpkin patch. This is something that is so incredibly nostalgic for me. I would go to the pumpkin patch every single year with my mom, and as an adult, I still feel the need to go to the pumpkin patch every single year. There's just something about going, seeing all of the pumpkins, having the miniature fall festival at the pumpkin patch, being able to go select your pumpkin to take home. It's just the epitome of fall in my mind. And along that same line of going to the pumpkin patch, once you have gotten your pumpkin, take it home and either carve it or paint it. Again, this is such a foundational fall activity for me. I've been doing it since I was a kid. I love carving pumpkins. When me and my boyfriend got together, he'd never carved a pumpkin before, which was kind of crazy for me because it was such a big part of my childhood. Now every year we go and get our pumpkins and then we'll take them home and carve them. But of course, if you're not into carving pumpkins, whether that's like sensory reasons, you know, the texture of the pumpkin guts or the smell, or you just want the pumpkin to last longer, you can also paint your pumpkin as well. Number five, visit an apple orchard. This is something I had never done before until last year when my boyfriend took me to the apple orchard, and when I tell you, it was so incredibly fun. If you've never gone before, it's usually just rows upon rows of different trees, usually different types of apples for each line of trees, and you can buy a bundle or a bag, usually for maybe like $10 to $15, and they'll give you your bag and you just pick as many apples as you can carry in that bag. When I tell you, it was so much fun. I do recommend going earlier on in the season if you can, because last year when I went with my boyfriend, it was a little bit later in the season, and a lot of the apples had already fallen and were starting to rot, so definitely go earlier in the season if you can. But it was absolutely so much fun. We ended up with way more apples than we knew what to do with, but especially if you were a baker or a cook and you are looking to incorporate apples, go to an apple orchard to source them because it is just such an experience and so much fun. Number six, start a fall garden. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Most people associate starting a garden with springtime or summertime, but fall is still a perfectly good opportunity to have a garden. There's so many plants you can still plant in the fall time, so many flowers you can still plant. There is still time before winter. So I recommend taking advantage of this growing season to put a few last minute things in your garden before winter comes upon us. Number seven, this one is so stereotypical of me, but read a cozy book. I am such a reader, so I really read all year round, but there's just something about the fall season. Going to a coffee shop, getting your little warm drink, cozying up, reading a book. If you haven't picked up a book since middle school or high school, I highly recommend just trying to read a book that seems interesting to you this fall season. And in line with number seven, number eight is join a book club. You would be so surprised at how many book clubs exist around you, even if you were in a small town. For example, I am in Little Rock, Arkansas. Most of the time, Arkansas doesn't have a lot of the same things that other cities have, but we have an absolute ton of book clubs, and I never would have known until I started looking into it. There's book clubs for morbidly curious books, there's nonfiction book clubs, romance book clubs. There are so many different types of book clubs. I was actually excited to join my first book club this past month. We'll be having our first meeting this weekend, and it is just such a great way to meet new people that have a similar interest to you, and to kind of get you branching out there. But I also think that it can be such a cozy experience to just meet up for coffee, talk about the book that you're all reading, just discuss. I think it's just such a good time, and it kind of preps you to have this regular routine of community as we start going into the colder months, where I feel like we all tend to get a little bit lonelier. And if you're somebody who doesn't usually like being part of book clubs because you just don't like being told what to read, or you're more of a mood reader, they do have something called silent book clubs. These are basically just book clubs where you read whatever book it is you want. You show up to the venue, you talk for about 30 minutes, maybe talk about what books you're reading, anything happening in your life, and then the rest of the time you all just read silently together. This is the perfect way to still have that community, still meet people, still spend time together, but you get to read whatever it is that you're wanting to read. Number 9, one of my personal favorites, host a party. I think the fall season is absolutely perfect for hosting because there's just so many excuses to do it and so many themes to pick from to get inspiration for how to throw the party. For example, every year, me and my boyfriend throw a Halloween party for our friends at our house. This will actually be our first time in this house throwing the party. Previous years we've done it in an apartment. But we love throwing Halloween parties, getting everyone dressed up, being able to decorate the place, have fall-themed foods and drinks. It's just so much fun. But if you're not in the Halloween spirit, you could also just look into hosting a potluck with your friends. You could do a type of Friendsgiving. You could do a football watch party or a movie marathon. So many options to do. Number 10, make fire cider. Now, if you're not familiar with fire cider, no worries, I actually only found out about it a couple of years ago, but this is such a fun drink that you can make in the fall season to then drink in the winter season. Now, if you're not familiar with fire cider, this is basically a drink that is a mixture of apple cider vinegar, honey, ginger, turmeric, onions, jalapenos, and kind of a little bit of an optional or creative twist for whatever else you want to add. But the major point of fire cider is that you can take a little bit every day to kind of help boost your immune system, or take more of it once you're sick in the winter to help you recover faster and kind of clear out your sinuses. So look up the recipes online. I can post a recipe in this video to one of the videos that I've watched for it. Again, it's a little bit custom. You can kind of choose what gets put in it, but there is like a base layer of ingredients for the fire cider itself. Number 11, I don't know what it is about the fall season that just reminds me so much of baking bread, but it truly is the season of bread. So if you have free time this fall season, try making your own sourdough starter. Now, I know that has been trending on TikTok and Reels for a while now, but I'm curious how many people are actually trying to make the sourdough starter versus just watching people make their sourdough starters. Now, if that sounds like you, this is your sign to start one on your own. It's really not that hard, doesn't require that many ingredients, and it is totally doable. It just requires a little bit of patience. And speaking of baking bread, number 12 is bake an herbal bread. Now, again, I was saying bread is just so in line with the fall season, but there is a specific herbal bread recipe that I make literally every fall. I love it. My boyfriend loves it. It is so tasty, and I will link it here in case you want to make it. But this bread, it kind of tastes like pizza crust, but if pizza crust was super soft, super fluffy, like it is just absolutely delicious. And of course you don't have to make this specific recipe, but I recommend experimenting with some different types of bread in the fall season because you really get an excuse to have some warm bread with butter when it's a little bit chilly outside, and it is just the perfect time to do it. Number 13 is to bake some sweet treats. So there is so many sweet treat ideas that you can bake during the fall season. There's so many pumpkin treats, apple treats, kind of spiced treats. There's just so many options, and I think it's the perfect time to try to experiment a little bit. If you're not normally a baker, try to take this time to maybe experiment a little bit, see what you like, see what you don't like, but I think there's just so many opportunities for baking sweet treats in the fall. Number 14, put a puzzle together. This is something you can technically do all year round, but I think it's just a very cozy activity that fits well with a rainy autumn day where it's a little chilly outside and you can cozy up and just put a little puzzle together. And kudos to you if it is a fall themed puzzle, that just adds to the spirit, but I really think that puzzles are such a fun way to kind of relax, turn your brain off, just do some like pattern recognition, just really calm down. And while you're putting the puzzle together, you can watch a fall movie, listen to a podcast, or put on a fall playlist. Number 15, start a journal. I cannot express how important I think journaling is for the average person, and I think fall is such a good time to start journaling. Again, we're about to go into the darker season where like there tends to be a little bit more emotions, a little bit more depression and anxiety, so getting in the habit of journaling can be really good for your mental health. Now, I know that a lot of people think of journaling as kind of like a diary where you just write down everything that happened every single day, but that's not necessarily what it has to be. Now, if you're someone where you really just don't have a clue of what to journal about ever, they do make a lot of journal prompts online that you can follow to kind of help guide your writing. You can use journal prompts that are kind of tailored more towards emotional things, almost like a form of therapy, or you can just do fun prompts like what superpower would you want to have, or what would you do with $1 million if you couldn't spend it on yourself. There's so many ideas for journaling, but I think it can be such a good way to spend your time, especially during the coziest of seasons. Number 16, collage. This is something I really adore doing and I think is a great creative outlet, especially if you're someone that doesn't necessarily like doing anything like drawing or painting, or you don't feel that you have a very natural ability for doing creative things. Highly recommend doing collages. Collages can be art, they can be a way of journaling, they can be a book of recipes, a book of knowledge. It can be anything you want it to be. For me personally, I don't necessarily cut out pieces of a magazine for my collages, mostly because magazines are actually really expensive right now, but I will just get books of stickers and use that and construction paper and different themed paper to put together creations whenever I want to put down information in a way that's aesthetically pleasing to me. Number 17, make your own fall decorations. Now, I have seen all of the reels, I've seen all the TikToks, everybody goes on these massive shopping hauls for fall decor every single year, and consumerism is a massive problem in the United States specifically, but also the world as a whole. Now, I think there's nothing cozier than just making your own fall decorations. It has a lot more meaning attached to it, a lot more effort put into it. It'll save you money. And also, you're not contributing to this consumerism. You're not buying something that's going to break and end up in the trash. This is something I've been planning to do this year myself. I know how to crochet, so I was wanting to crochet some little pumpkins and ghosts to string up as like a type of garland all throughout the house. I'm also wanting to learn how to sew so that I can make specific placemats and curtains and rugs and decorations to put up around the house for fall as well. And also, if you're someone where maybe you don't know a whole lot about how to make fall decorations or decorations in general, you don't have to know how to sew or crochet. You can just get construction paper or fabric and cut out the shapes that you're wanting. And honestly, super glue can be your best friend. Number 18, try a new recipe. Fall is known for many things. There is chili, there is soup, there's pumpkin everything, and now is the perfect time to try out a new fall recipe. I love eating seasonally during the fall. I think that it is a great way to be, really in tune with the seasons, and there are a ton of recipes that you can try out that kind of stay in tune with the fall season. I just recommend choosing at least one to try out that you could potentially add to your weekly rotation for the next season. Number 19, this one is not specific to fall, but I think is super important, and that is start learning a new language. Now, maybe I'm biased because I was a linguistics major in college, but I think learning a language is so incredibly important. Not only do you learn a new language, but you get introduced to new music, to new movies, TV shows, and people as well. You're introduced to a whole new culture. Learning language is super good for your brain, and at least for me, I find learning a new language so much fun. Especially, again, going into the winter months, I think finding more ways to connect with people and connect with community as a whole can be really beneficial, and so learning a language is a great way to find connections to a whole new group of people that you wouldn't have had access to before. Number 20, this one is probably one I doubt you'll find on other lists, but learn plant identification. This one has become so incredibly important to me, and before you kind of roll your eyes at it and think it's weird, I know a lot of people think plant identification is more for people that plan on foraging or conservationists, but that is not true. There are so many benefits to learning plant identification. One of the main things you will hear people talk about that, learn plant identification, that build these relationships with specific plants, is that when you're able to identify these plants, it starts to feel like you're meeting all of these neighbors that have always been around you, but that you just never paid attention to before. Suddenly, when you're out and about, you'll recognize a plant, and it's almost like seeing a friend that you've known your whole life. Or you'll go to a new area where you don't recognize any plants, but when you see one plant you're familiar with, it almost feels like you're seeing somebody from back home. I think plant identification can be so much fun, but it can also really further your connection with the environment and with the earth around you. What plant have you passed by a million times walking into and out of your house or apartment? What plants do you drive by every single day? What plants do you see outside of your office window? Focus on the plants that you see around you, learn their names, learn their origins, Are they edible? Are they medicinal? Are they invasive? Are they native? I think this is the easiest way to get into plant identification, but I think this can be just such a fun activity for the fall season, especially since in winter, most of the plants will die back. Number 21, host a Halloween movie marathon. This can either be with yourself, your friends, your family, or your significant other. I think this is a pinnacle, absolute must do for the fall season. Now, I'll let you define what Halloween movies means to you. I know for some people that is a bunch of scary movies. For other people, it might be childhood movies or just fall themed movies in general. For example, for me, I like watching movies like Spirited Away, Hocus Pocus, Halloween Town, and Practical Magic. I actually have a whole video where I went over a lot of my fall favorites that I will link above, but there's so many options for doing a fall movie marathon, and I think if you really get into the mood of it, you set the lighting, light some candles, maybe make a pillow for it, it can really become an iconic memory for the fall season. Number 22, visit a museum. I think museums are so underrated. There are so many museums that I feel like locals never go to, but I genuinely think that they are worth visiting. Become a tourist in your own town. Look to see what museums are nearby. Even when I lived in a super small town of 300 people, there was a museum about my town's history, like one town over, that I was able to go visit. I think it is absolutely important to go to these museums. And in the fall season, I feel such a bigger connection to history and to spirits and ancestors in general. So I think going to a museum kind of honors that, kind of doing a reflection of the history of your area. Number 23, of course, one of my favorites, go to a haunted house. Now, I'm someone, I love being scared, I love a good thrill, so I've always adored going to haunted houses. If anything, my main struggle has been finding people to go with me. But I think this is one of the core things that you can do during the fall season to really embody that spooky season vibe. And if you're someone where you feel that haunted houses are a little bit too intense, I recommend looking around to see if there are any haunted hayrides in your area. In my experience, haunted hayrides tend to be a little bit less scary. They just can't get as close to you, and since you're sitting on the hayride, it feels a little bit easier that you're not really in charge of running away, if that makes sense. So I'd recommend checking those out as well. But haunted houses, they're one of my absolute favorites. Number 24, this one might seem weird, but if you're a witch, you get it. And this is visit your local cemetery or graveyard. Now, during the fall season, as I said, I always feel this call towards spirits, towards ancestors, towards history. And honestly, no place holds more history than a cemetery or a graveyard. Going during the day and just taking a walk through, looking at the graves, you're looking at actual history of all the people that have lived and died in your area. And if you're lucky, you might live near a more historical cemetery or graveyard where they might actually have tours of it. Now, unfortunately, I don't live anywhere that has these tours. I wish I did. I'm so jealous. But if you do live near a cemetery that offers tours, I highly recommend taking one. A lot of times they'll kind of walk you through the people that are buried there and their lives and their history, and you can learn so much about your area that way. Also, I personally think that cemeteries and graveyards tend to be very beautiful, and when you go in the fall season, a lot of times you get to see them in those beautiful, iconic fall colors as well. Number 25, while you're at the cemetery or graveyard, go ahead and take a moment to straighten up the graves as you see. You don't have to clean them with a chemical, but if you see that a flower vase is tipped over, maybe straighten it. If you see some leaves, maybe brush them off, just kind of cleaning up as you look around. This is something I used to do a lot when I was a kid. I would go to the cemetery with my mom because we had family buried there, and she would tell me stories of all the people that had died there and how they died and what their lives were like, and I learned so much about people I never met. But while we would walk around, I would pick up leaves, kind of brush off the graves, and I would collect these stray flowers that had, the wind had knocked off of these graves. And I would collect these flowers, and then I would place them on the graves of people who had no flowers, who you could tell hadn't been visited in a really long time. And one of the times that I did that, I actually found money on the ground while I was doing it, and my mom swore up and down that this was the spirits thanking me for cleaning up and considering them. I personally think whether it's the veil thinning or whether they're always there or it's just that kind of time of year, I think spirits appreciate us taking care of their graves. Number 26, another one that you can do year-round, but I think is especially important in the fall, is to volunteer locally. Volunteering is so important, but I think especially as we start getting into the colder months, it becomes even more vital for your community. Now, the great thing about volunteering is that you really get to choose where you're wanting to put your time and energy for your volunteering. You can help an animal shelter, a homeless shelter, a women's shelter. You can do a food bank. You can do so many different things to help out your community. But I find that doing these things not only helps assist your community in preparing for the winter months, but it can also give you that bigger sense of connection and this bigger sense of belonging to the community when we're entering a time that, again, has a lot of loneliness and depression. Number 27, go for a walk outside. Again, this one's pretty simple, but such a good way to enjoy the fall season. If you're not a hiker and you're not a camper, this is the easiest way to get out there and fully enjoy fall, whether you're just going for a walk in the park or going for a walk in your neighborhood. Again, perfect way to enjoy the season. And while you're out there, go ahead and take a bag with you and pick up any litter you see. This is a great way to give back to the earth during the season. Number 28, again, one that I do all year round, even though this is very fall specific, but listen to some spooky podcasts. Again, we are in the spooky season, so why not give the spooky podcast a listen, especially if you have a long commute. I personally listen to these all year round, and they release episodes all year round, but they are such a great way to get in the spirit. Me personally, I'm not super into true crime anymore, although I know a lot of people are, but what I do love is a podcast that talks about cryptids and ghosts and haunted locations, and there are plenty of podcasts that you can listen to for that. I'll link one of the ones that I love down below. Their name is Ghost Teas. They have a different tea that they drink every episode, and then they talk over their listeners' paranormal stories, haunted locations, and different cryptids. So highly recommend. 29, go on a haunted road trip. Now, if you're in the United States, I guarantee that there is an online website covering a haunted road trip or haunted locations of your state. If you're outside of the US, I'm sure your area also has a bunch of haunted locations. I recommend planning a road trip to hit a bunch of them all at once with your friends or your partner and really just embrace the spookiness of the spooky season. This is a fun way to get to see all of the beautiful leaves during the season while also getting to do a little bit of ghost hunting. Number 30, declutter your closet for the cold season. Now, again, I know this is one that's really thought more for the springtime with spring cleaning, but honestly, anytime we are going through a kind of weather transition, I feel like it's a good idea to just go through and declutter your closet, especially when we just finished the hot season. We're going to start wearing new clothes. We can look at the clothes through the past season that we never wore, and we can look at the clothes as we uncover them for the new season to see what we really just aren't vibing with. Number 31, along with this decluttering, donate any of the clothes that you're not wanting anymore directly to a charity like the women's shelter or the homeless shelter, or there's a lot of programs towards the colder months for donating coats to families in need. I much prefer donating to these specific causes over just donating to Goodwill. While donating to Goodwill is better than just directly throwing clothes away, a lot of times those clothes still end up getting thrown away, and there's also something to be said about charging for these clothing items when they don't pay for them themselves. So I think if you're wanting to make a direct impact and you have the resources, definitely donating directly to these causes can be so helpful and so beneficial. In fact, if you have the time, you could even run like a coat drive or a clothing drive for these direct charities amongst your friends. Number 32, try out a new coffee shop in your area and make sure to order a drink off of their fall menu. Now, I love going to coffee shops. I love reading books at coffee shops and studying at coffee shops and talking for way too long with my friends at coffee shops. And I swear there is no better time to enjoy a coffee shop than the fall season when they release their fall menu. Now, I personally am not a coffee girl. I really don't enjoy coffee, but I love tea. Chai tea is one of my favorites, and I also love hot chocolate. So definitely recommend going out and exploring the fall menu, regardless of whether you like coffee or not. Number 33, thrift a new fall outfit. Now, of course, we're going into the transition of the seasons. It's always tempting to get a new outfit that you get to wear around. I feel like it's just kind of natural almost to want to have that new outfit. But of course, consumerism is not that great, and we don't necessarily need to buy a brand new outfit every single season. Thrifting can be a great way to bring a second life to clothes that have been donated. And for me personally, I think that thrifting is just like a much better way of kind of discovering your new fall outfit. It's not you going in knowing what you want, but more of you discovering what you like. You could find something that you never would have imagined if you were just going to buy an outfit directly. But of course, with thrifting, it's really just what's available, and I think you can be a little bit more creative with thrifting as well. Number 34, do a fall photo shoot. I think this is absolutely so much fun. Now, of course, you don't have to do a professional photo shoot unless you want to. Those can be a little bit costly, but you can easily do a photo shoot on your own with just your phone. Now, I recommend getting in an outfit, whether it's a cute fall outfit or Halloween costumes or dressing up as ghosts, but make it fun, make yourself feel pretty and confident, and just put your phone up and take a bunch of photos using the self-timer. Now, something that I've learned from some of my friends is if you take 100 photos, you are bound to like one of them. So when it comes to doing a photo shoot for yourself, make sure to take as many photos as possible. Even if those photos are of you doing the same pose in just slightly different angles, that is fine. You will like one of them if you take a bunch of photos. This can also be a great way to kind of memorialize or leave a physical memory of this fall season. Number 35, host a board game game night or play a board game by yourself. Again, I don't know what it is, but board games, they can be a year-round thing, but I feel like especially in the fall, I just tend to play more of them, especially when there are very cozy themed board games and even some horror themed board games. This is the perfect time to host a board game night with your friends, or if you don't have anyone to play with, you can play some solo board games. They make a lot of one-person, one-player board games that are super cozy and super fun to do by yourself. But if you do happen to have a board game store in your area, I highly recommend checking them out, at least in my experience. Typically, if there is a store that sells a lot of board games, they will have a board game night at least once a month and sometimes even once a week. Number 36, draw something. Draw anything. I find that just taking time to be creative can be so beneficial. I feel like especially now in our world as adults, we don't always have the opportunity to just be creative. A lot of times we have to set that aside for ourselves, very directly make that time. So why not spend this fall drawing something? I feel like there's a lot of inspiration to be had in the fall time. Whether you're really good at drawing or if you're a beginner or if you really just don't know what you're doing, I feel like there's an opportunity for everyone. Whether you have something in mind, you can draw that, or you can look out your window, draw what you see, follow a tutorial online, or even just shade over some leaves or trace some leaves on paper. I think it's a great opportunity to be creative. And along those same lines is to paint something. Now, I can't really paint anything from just out of the blue, from my head. I don't really work that way, but I do like to paint photos that I've taken with my camera to do watercolor. I find that can be very soothing for me, but if you're not very good with painting, you can also try following a tutorial online or going to a paint and sip class. Those classes specifically will more than likely have a lot of fall themed paintings for you to try out. Number 38, learn tarot. Learn how to read tarot cards. This is the absolute perfect time to learn tarot. There's a ton of cards you can choose from, many of them very aesthetically pleasing, many suited for the fall season, many year round, but this is the absolute perfect time to learn how to read tarot if you have been interested. There are plenty of resources online, videos, books, you name it, to learn how to read tarot. And it will take a little bit of time, so honestly, dedicating a full season to trying to teach yourself how to read could be such a great use of time, and I find it to be such a great skill. Whether you believe in it or not, at the worst, tarot would just be an introspective tool for you to use, but if you're more spiritual like me, then it can really be a lot of fun to use with your spirituality. Number 39, build or paint birdhouses and set them up outside. Now, there is many benefits to this. One, it is extremely fun to get a group of people together to decorate birdhouses, but it is also very beneficial for the birds themselves to have these birdhouses set up ahead for the winter season. Now, I know a lot of people associate birdhouses mainly with the springtime and birds, making nests inside there and laying their eggs, but birdhouses are also beneficial in the winter season because this is when a lot of birds are looking for places to kind of keep quiet for the winter. They want a place where they can shelter from the weather, go out to get their food, come back and snuggle in, and birdhouses can act as that for many birds. And along those same lines, number 40, set up a bird feeder on your balcony or in your backyard. Bird feeders can be so much fun. From the bird aspect, they get plenty of food, but from the human aspect, getting to watch all of the birds is so enjoyable, and you really get to the point where you start to recognize the birds that you see, and they become like your little neighbors. You start to be like, oh yeah, that's the cardinal pair that always shows up in the morning, or those are the Carolina wrens that I always see in the afternoon. It can be so much fun, and again, same with the nesting boxes. It's really beneficial to get in the habit of feeding the birds because once wintertime comes, food gets a little bit scarce for them, so I think it can be helpful to just provide them another food source, since humans are one of the main reasons that a lot of birds are struggling through the winter now to begin with. Number 41, switching gears a little bit, is make pumpkin butter. I love to make pumpkin butter. If you really want like a cool way, holistic way to kind of go about it, when you carve a pumpkin, you can use the guts from inside the pumpkin when you carve it to make pumpkin butter. Now, typically it's not enough to fully supply the pumpkin flavor for pumpkin butter, but you can use it alongside any canned pumpkin that you include as well. And 42, which kind of goes along the same lines, you can toast pumpkin seeds. So if you went and carved a pumpkin, you can take out the seeds from that pumpkin and then toast them for yourself as a tasty snack, or you can feed them to your birds outside as well. If you're into more witchy things, you can also use the seeds in spell work for prosperity. Number 43, visit your local farmer's market. I think a lot of people think to do this in the summer, but the farmer's markets are still open in the fall, and there's still so much abundance to be had in those markets. Typically, there are a lot of flowers, a lot of produce, and a lot of small businesses that will set up shop at farmer's markets, so I highly recommend that you go and visit. Number 44, attend a local festival. I don't know if it's just the area that I live in, Little Rock, but there are a ton of local festivals going on, especially in the fall. I think it's just that the fall weather is so nice and it's very easy to enjoy because it's not overbearingly hot like it is majority of the rest of the year, but there are a ton of festivals to consider. And a lot of towns do specific fall festivals. For example, where I grew up, they had Lumberfest, Brickfest, Toadsuck, so many options. And of course in my area we have a lot going on right now, like Fall Festival, a Second Pride for Coming Out Day, food truck festivals, and a Turkish food festival. So there is a ton going on. So I would definitely check in your area to see what local festivals are going on. If you don't really know where to find information, you can usually look in your city's Facebook page. Number 45, visit your local library. Again, this is one for all year round, but especially in the fall, if you're looking for fall activities, your library can be a great resource. Not only do they have a bunch of books that you can use for your cozy reading, but a lot of libraries actually host different activities, and a lot of times they are themed for whatever season you're in. For example, I know that my library does a lot of book clubs. They also do candle making sessions and a bunch of different adult-based activities as well as kid-based activities. So give your library a look. You might find that they have a bunch of free activities you can participate in that will really embody the fall. Number 46, this one might be a little scary, but introduce yourself to your neighbors with a baked treat. I personally think it is very important to get to know your neighbors, and this is something that's kind of dying out. I feel like a lot of people don't really talk to the people that live around them anymore, but it is so beneficial to know the people that you live next to. It can give you a great sense of community and support in trying times. Now, I know that it is scary to introduce yourself to new people, especially when they are complete strangers, but it doesn't have to be very complicated. You can make a baked treat, or you can make a goodie bag and then just knock on their door, give it to them, let them know your name and your phone number in case of emergencies, and that's really all it is. You don't have to hang out if you don't want to. You don't have to make it prolonged if you don't want to. It can even be a drop off and then run away kind of thing, but you're just letting them know who you are, getting to know them, maybe add them on socials. It can be very beneficial, and I think it is such a good thing to do, especially in the fall when I feel like everybody's just kind of in a cheerier mood anyway. And again, we're going into the winter season where it'll be a little bit quieter, a little bit lonelier, so you might benefit from having a few more friends nearby. Number 47, make your own costume for Halloween instead of buying them. Now, this one honestly is one that I really want to do, not even because I'm crafty, but because the prices of Halloween costumes right now are absolutely ridiculous. I don't know when the last time you've looked at how much a Halloween costume costs is, but it's crazy. I would say like at minimum, it's probably like $75 for like a fabric outfit that you're going to wear, but it can definitely get even more expensive. And this is for an item that more than likely you're just going to wear the once. Now, when I say make your own costume, this doesn't necessarily mean that you have to learn how to sew. You have to buy a sewing machine or learn how to crochet or learn how to knit. It doesn't have to be like that. It could be that if you do have those skills, but it could also just be going to the thrift store, thrifting certain pieces that kind of go together and working with some clothing dye and a glue gun. And I promise you that you can put something together with those items. Now, I challenge you to do this for either yourself or for your kids because it can be so much fun, one, but also I feel like there's a lot of pride in creating something yourself and being able to showcase it. And you can definitely do a lot more customizing when you're making it yourself. Number 48, dig into your genealogy. As I have said, the fall season really ties me to my ancestors, and there's just something about the fall that makes me want to dig into my family history. This is the perfect time to dig into your genealogy if you haven't already. Now, of course, I'm lucky enough that a lot of my family history has already been kind of plotted out by someone else in my family, so it was really easy for me to find all of the names and all of the locations of my ancestors up until the point that they entered the United States. For you, it might be a little bit more difficult, but I still think it can be worth digging in and seeing what you can find. You can use resources like Ancestry.com or Find a Grave or even 23andMe if you have it. I do find that one of the best ways to learn more about your family is to ask your living family members. Number 49, light a bonfire and make some s'mores. Now, I'm lucky enough that this is our first year in the house and we are able to make our own bonfire at home, but of course, if you are in an apartment or on campus or somewhere where you can't make your own bonfire, then don't worry, there are some workarounds for this. You can either go camping and make your own bonfire there, or you can use an air fryer to make your own s'mores at home. Either way, I think making s'mores is an absolute must for the fall season. I absolutely love s'mores, and I think that this is especially something that I tie heavily to fall and camping specifically. Number 50, have a fall picnic. Again, the weather is absolutely beautiful in the fall, and I think this is a great time to go on a picnic either by yourself to read a book or with people you love to chat. In the new house, we live right next to a park that has a walking trail nearby, and there is a perfect area to have a picnic that I really want to try out. So this is one that I'm very excited for on my fall bucket list. Number 51 and 52 I'm actually going to put together, and that is donate to your local food pantry and donate to your local little free library. I think, again, going into the winter season, supporting your community becomes kind of a bigger deal as we get into the season where it's really cold and resources are kind of just lower than normal. Go through your pantry, see what you can donate, and try not to just donate the expired things or the ones that you don't want, but try to donate things that are actually very helpful to families in need. If you don't have a lot, you could go out and intentionally buy food specifically to donate, or you could ask among your friends and family to see if they have food that they're willing to donate as well. Do like a little local food drive, if you will. And for your little free library, I find that this is a great way to kind of pass books on to other people in a way that's more assuring than donating them to Goodwill. For example, with Goodwill, you don't always know what's going to be passed out onto the floor for people to buy versus something that's just going to get thrown away. So I find that putting it in your little free library is a great way to ensure that people have access to it and it's not just going to be thrown away. Again, I think fall is a great time for building community and kind of supporting your community as you move into the colder season. Number 53, this one is an easy one, but paint your nails a fall color. I find that this really just gets me in the mood. I'm actually going to be due for some fall colors here pretty soon. I don't have any fall colors quite yet, but that is on my to-do list because I absolutely love fall colors to begin with, but painting your nails, I feel like it really just gets you in the mood. Number 54, make a fall music playlist to set the mood. I think this is especially important if you're someone that's going to be reading a lot at home, doing kind of activities that would require ambient music, or if you do a lot of long drives. I think making a fall playlist really does help set the mood for the season. This is something I love to do because sometimes when I just put shuffle on my music, I will get songs that just don't fit the vibe. They don't fit the vibe. So this is a great way to really, one, find songs that you like and kind of reignite that fall spirit, but also to have a playlist on hand for when you are needing to listen to that fall inspired music. Number 55, if you're in the US, consider going to a football game or a football tailgate. I know not everyone loves sports, but this is such a huge part of the fall experience in the United States, especially if you go to support a local team. I think it can be such a great way to be a part of a community, and a lot of times it's not even necessarily about the sport itself. It can be, having the food and chatting with friends and just being outdoors together. That's the fun part. I find that even though I'm not a huge fan of sports, anytime I go to a live event, sports game, I really enjoy myself and have a ton of fun. Number 56, decorate your house for fall. I think this is the foolproof way of fully enjoying the season, is to let the inside of your house reflect the outside of your house. Decorating for fall is a great way to invite those energies inside of your house, and honestly, it just really puts me in the fall spirit, and I get so excited for how pretty my house looks. And number 57, along those same lines, decorate your balcony or the outside of your house or your porch. I think this is, again, a great way to incorporate that fall season, but I always just enjoy seeing people decorate for the seasons. I remember as a kid, I always loved seeing people decorate for Halloween, and I feel like as an adult, I just don't see that as often anymore. So I really encourage you to kind of bring that back, that enjoyment of the season, that funness, playfulness by decorating outside. Number 58, make a simmer pot. If you are not familiar with simmer pots, I'm so excited to be able to tell you. Simmer pots are basically these pots of water that you put on the stove and you add slices of citrus fruit and herbs and spices to it to make it smell good whenever it simmers. Common things that people add in are orange slices, cinnamon, cloves, rosemary, things like that. It will make your house smell absolutely amazing, and this is especially great if you're someone that is trying to avoid lighting candles and you don't want any of that kind of thing in your house. Absolutely perfect. It will make your house smell absolutely amazing. And again, if you are on the witchier side of things, this is a great way to bring in the intentions of the herbs that you use into your house through the simmering pot. Number 59, do a charity run or walk or a fall 5K. This is something that I really want to challenge myself to do. Again, the weather is great, and a lot of times doing these things for charity is such a great way to contribute to that group in need. This is something I want to try to do. Never been much of a runner, but I've been working on my endurance, and I really think that I would be able to run and walk a 5K this year. So I encourage you to look in your area to see what 5Ks or fall runs are going on right now. Again, you don't have to run them, you can just walk them. Number 60, eat in-season produce. Again, this one's not necessarily a specific activity so much as something you would just kind of do consistently over time, but I find that eating in-season produce just feels right for the season. It's like our bodies were designed to eat these foods. They taste better when they're in season, and a lot of times I feel like they are part of naturally just fall-based recipes. So I highly recommend eating some in-season foods to really get in the full embodiment of the spirit of fall. I just realized I am getting some golden hour sun right now. I think this might have to do for now. The sun is like really shining bright all of a sudden. Number 61, celebrate Oktoberfest. Now this is one I really haven't done before, but I'm super interested in doing because there are a ton of Oktoberfest events in my area at the local German breweries, so I'm so excited to get to go. But this is a very good example of kind of celebrating these festivities in the fall season that are not necessarily surrounding Halloween, because Halloween is really only one part of fall and majority of the season is actually after Halloween. Number 62, go to a Renaissance fair. I'm not sure if it's just my area, but there are a lot of Renaissance fair activities that go on around this season. It is so much better weather than the summertime for a Renaissance fair in my opinion, so I definitely want to go to a Renaissance fair this fall. I've never been before, but I've heard that it is the best place to go if you're someone that is super into fantasy and getting to dress up, which I definitely am, so super excited to be able to go to a Ren fair this season. Number 63, knit or crochet gloves, a scarf, or a sweater for the cold weather season. If you are someone that knits or crochets, you know that sometimes it can take a little bit of time for a project to get finished, especially if you get distracted. So I think being able to start a project now for you to wear whenever it's much colder in winter is a fantastic idea. For myself, I'm probably going to be looking at doing some gloves or a scarf because a sweater feels like a really large commitment right now, but who knows, I might end up getting into that as well. But I think this is such a good thing to do, spend all fall making this outfit or making this item that you get to wear for the winter season. Number 64, of course, is pass out candy for Halloween. This is something that as I've gotten older, I've really enjoyed getting to do. I love seeing how excited kids are for candy, how excited they are to show off their costumes. I think it's just so cute. I've noticed not that many people really are trick-or-treating or handing out candy anymore. I'm really curious to see how it goes in our new house. I'm hoping, since we're in a neighborhood, that there will be plenty of kids going around, but I don't know. I guess if you don't get a lot of trick-or-treaters, you could always sign up to help pass out candy at a trunk-or-treat event, which is getting more popular in the US, but I don't know. I still like the old school trick-or-treating, so I'm really hoping I get to do that this year. Number 65, go on a bike ride. Again, as I've been saying, weather's perfect for it, and this is just the perfect time for it. I actually thrifted a bike from Facebook Marketplace, so I'm really excited to be able to get it ready for this fall season since it has been way too hot to go riding in Arkansas these past few months. Number 66, make a fall wreath or just make a decoration for your door. I know a lot of people will kind of buy the bases for fall wreaths at like Michael's or Hobby Lobby, and you can decorate those for every season. I think for the fall it'd be great to use that base of like wood in a circle and then add in some fall flowers and maybe some handmade crafts as well. You could do some mushrooms that you cut out or any kind of like crocheted items to it as well. I think it'd be a really cute and fun activity and just a great way to decorate for fall as well. Number 67, go through a corn maze. This is something I've never done in my life before. I've always been a little bit nervous of it because I have seen Jeepers Creepers, so the idea just kind of throws me off, but I do have to admit that it is one of the peak fall activities that you always see in movies, and that feels very nostalgic. So definitely have to add that to this year's bucket list. Typically there's a corn maze at every pumpkin patch, so I'll have to check it out this year. Number 68, this one is more of an appreciative one, and that is to make some Halloween or fall themed goodie bags for your mailman or delivery drivers. I find that they are some of the most underappreciated people despite the hard work that they do. They deliver our items despite the temperature, despite the road conditions, despite the weather, so I think it can just be really nice to make a little bag for them to kind of show your appreciation. It doesn't have to be anything super complex. You could crochet them something cute, or you could give them some candy, give them a gift card. Just make sure that it's not too expensive, because I do think there are limits on what mailmen are legally allowed to accept from people as gifts. Sorry, I keep finding that I'm having to move to avoid the sun because, as you can see, the glare of the sun is like changing with me. Number 69, mail a letter or a postcard to a family member or friend that lives far away. I think this is such a sweet idea, honestly, and something that I would love to receive myself. But I think that just getting mail that's personal and that's not a bill or an ad or spam is just so refreshing to get in the mail. So I think this is such a cute idea. Whether it's doing a postcard of your local area or a picture of yourself and your family or just a nice handwritten note, I think it's just such a great way to let your friends or family member know that you're thinking of them. Number 70, go on a thrift hunt for a vintage quilt. Now, I am lucky enough that I do have quite a bit of quilts from my grandmother and from my mom, but I think that there are some very unique quilts that always end up in vintage stores or in thrift stores. I think it's a great idea to spend the fall season really hunting for a unique one to bring into your home. I think it's just such a fun activity, and I love the idea again, of not really just getting that instant gratification of like typing something in and buying it, but really hunting for it, looking for it, and not knowing exactly what version you're going to get when you find it. Number 71, go ghost hunting with friends. Now this one might not be everyone's cup of tea, but I think that this could be so much fun. Again, I love all things spooky, so this is right up my alley. But I think going ghost hunting with friends is such a typical spooky season activity and can be so much fun. Whether you're going to an actually well-known haunted location, a cemetery, or you're just trying to ghost hunt in your own house, I think this could be such a fun activity for the fall. Just make sure you're being careful if you're not sure what you're doing, because you don't want to mess with things that you're not too familiar with. But in general, I think for the most part, this can just be a fun little activity for you to play with. Number 72, this is one I'm sure that not that many people think about for the fall, but go visit your local zoo. A lot of people don't think of fall as necessarily the right time to visit the zoo, but I think fall and spring are some of the only times that I think are super great to visit the zoo, mainly because it's not too hot, because when it's too hot, one, you don't want to be there, but also a lot of times the animals won't come out when it's hot, but it's also not so cold that a lot of the animals are hibernating, which is what I see happens a lot in the winter time. Number 73, this one might catch you off guard, but build out your holiday wish list. Now, I know this is a fall checklist, but if you really look at the dates, when fall ends is like a day or two before Christmas, so you really can't put this off for too long. But building out your holiday wish list intentionally before someone is hounding you for it means that you can make sure you're really getting items that you need and that you want. There's nothing worse than kind of just giving someone something because you're panicked and you suddenly have forgotten every single item that you've ever needed in the past year. So I find that it's much better to just be very intentional about what it is that you would want and have it ready so that when people ask, you can give it to them and know that you're getting something you truly want. Number 74, along those same lines, work on your holiday gift list. Now, I'm someone that I like to have all of my Christmas shopping done well in advance because I get stressed out very easily. So just knowing that everybody's accounted for, everything on my list is delivered, makes me feel so much more sane when it comes to the holiday season. So I think it is a great idea to make sure you get your holiday gift list at the very least sorted out so that you know what you're going to buy, if not already bought by the fall season. Number 75, go bird watching. Now, if you put some bird houses and feeders in your backyard, this will probably come very naturally to you because once they start getting in your vicinity, you really can't help but wanting to watch them. But I found that once you start getting involved with birds, you want to recognize their calls, you want to recognize their songs, you want to be able to look at them and know who they are. And I just love being able to go for a walk in the park, especially in the fall when the leaves are falling, so you can see a little bit more easily into the treetops and look to see what birds are hanging around. It can be such a peaceful activity. Number 76, make a fall candle. I know a lot of people go out and buy fall candles, and I don't see anything wrong with that, but something even more fun than buying a candle is getting to make one yourself. There's a lot of candle making kits that you can find in craft stores, and these allow you to not only choose the color of your candle, but choose the specific scents that you're wanting to make as well. And if you have any containers from past candles that you liked, you can actually pour your candle mixture into those to repurpose the candle container. Number 77 is to take a fall themed bubble bath. Now, I used to not be a big bubble bath person, but as I've gotten older, I've really come to appreciate them. But there's nothing better than having a very intentional themed bubble bath. And for a fall bubble bath, I would probably recommend using some fall scented bath bombs and soap, turning the lights down, lighting some fall candles, and either reading a fall book or putting on a fall movie. I feel like that is the best way to get into the spirit, especially with the bubble bath, and it can be so relaxing. Number 78 is hanging herbs to dry. Now, I know a lot of people have herb gardens in the summertime, and honestly, you can even start an herb garden in the fall as well. But I think getting to pick these herbs and hanging them to dry can give a very witchy aesthetic to your surroundings if you're into that, but it also allows you to use these herbs in the winter as seasoning, aesthetically, or in spiritual purposes if you're into witchcraft. Number 79, grow your own mushrooms at home. Now, I know this one seems a little interesting, but you can buy these mushroom kits where you bring a mushroom kit home and literally all you do is you just spray it with a water bottle a few times every day, and the mushrooms that you chose will grow out of this box, and they are fully edible. You can eat them, you can cook them, and it is just the coolest thing. I always associate mushrooms with fall, so I feel like this is such a fall coded activity to do, and it is very low effort as well. So if this is something you just kind of want to have going on in the background, it does not take a lot of effort, and I don't think it's that expensive either. Number 80, get a reading from from a palm reader or a tarot reader. If you're not into reading tarot yourself, or even if you are, it can always be a great idea to get a reading from a trusted reader. Now, when you are looking for someone to get a reading from, I really recommend looking through reviews, looking at the pricing, comparing them to other people. There's usually a lot of recommendations from other tarot readers for who they recommend. So honestly, I would dig into it, but it can be such a fun activity to get done with your friends. And I always seem to find a lot of local tarot readers, like physically in physical locations, despite living in an area where that's not really a thing that you do. So I'm sure there could be local tarot readers nearby you, but you can also find plenty online as well. Number 81, get a fresh haircut or dye your hair a fall color. I find that getting a haircut really just feels like cutting off stagnant energy. So there's nothing better than entering into a new season with a fresh haircut and fresh energy. And of course, if you're someone that loves changing the color of your hair, then changing your hair into a more fall-based color can really help get you in the spirit as well. Number 82, make an infused oil with herbs. This is not necessarily a fall-specific practice, but I always feel more inclined to do these things during the fall season. So if you want to make an oil blend that utilizes very specific herbs, I think this would be a great activity for the fall. For example, if you want to make a lavender oil or rosemary oil, this would be the perfect time to do it. There are plenty of tutorials, I can link some down below, but these can be great for body oils, hair oils, or using them for specific intentions. Number 83, a basic one, but a good one, color in a fall themed coloring book. I absolutely love coloring. I will get a little setup with candles and mood lighting and a blanket, and I'll either turn on an audiobook or a podcast, and I will just color away while I'm listening to whatever story I'm listening to, and it is just such a cozy moment, and I feel like the perfect activity for fall. Number 84, this one might seem a little odd, but start a compost pile. I will stand by this decision any time of year, but especially in the fall. Starting a compost pile is so beneficial to the environment. I used to not understand why, but I learned that when you throw food scraps away in the trash, I always used to think, food scraps will decompose easily, so what does it matter if they go to a landfill or they go to the dump? But turns out whenever you take food scraps to a landfill, they're not in the right conditions for them to decompose the way they naturally would. There's not enough moisture, there's not enough oxygen, so they end up taking way longer to decompose than they would naturally. And because of this, they end up producing methane, which is a greenhouse gas, which is not great for the environment. So instead of throwing your food scraps away, a really easy alternative is to create a compost pile. Now, I personally do a hot composting method, which I can leave links to other videos explaining that method and other methods way better than I ever could. But I personally use this method where I will collect a little bucket full of food scraps, usually all scraps as long as they are not seasoned with salt, they're not meat, and they're not dairy. I'll throw those scraps in there. When the bucket gets full, I go outside, empty it into my compost bin, and then I will add some browns, which are usually like dried leaves or dried twigs or cardboard. Then I just turn it every so often, and over time it turns into a very nutrient-rich compost that I can use for gardening. I find that this is especially beneficial in the fall time because I feel like in the fall there's just a lot of food-centered activities, a lot of cooking going on. So I think if we're going to be doing a lot more cooking, a lot more baking, a lot more food-centered things, it's good to have a place for some of this food waste to go that's less harmful to the environment. Number 85, make a fancy hot drink at home. Whether you want to make your own fancy fall themed coffee or a fancy hot chocolate or a chai latte, so many options, but I think this is a great way to kind of save money and enjoy the fall experience at home, and this is something that I definitely want to do. I absolutely love chai lattes, and so this is right up my alley, but I've also been to a few really cool hot chocolate bars where I was able to get really fancy with some hot chocolate, so I'm definitely excited to implement that as one of my fall bucket list items. Number 86, write a story. Now this might be more for people that are super inclined to writing like I am, but again, I find fall to just be such a cozy time, a time for a lot of inspiration, and I am a writer. I love writing stories, and so this is the time of year where I really find myself just diving deep into the stories that I have in my head and putting them out on paper. Number 87, call your representatives. Again, this is one that is technically all year round, but especially important right now. If you haven't already, download this app called 5 Calls. It's an app you can have on your phone. It will basically sync to your location, show you who your reps are, what their phone numbers are, and then it will show you all of the top issues that are going on right now and provide you scripts with what to say when you call your representatives. So important, so I had to put that here as one of the must-do bucket list tasks for this season. There's too much going on right now with the genocide in Palestine and people getting kidnapped off the streets by ICE that I had to include this here. Number 88 is play a cozy game. So during those cozy fall days where we're getting a lot of rain and thunderstorms and we're stuck inside, I find that playing cozy video games can just be the perfect activity to pass the time. Now, I am definitely partial to games like Stardew Valley, which are very much well known, should not be a surprise at all, but there are plenty of cozy games that you can find online to play for those rainy days. Alternatively, if you are not wanting to play a cozy game, then you can also play a scary game. There are plenty of horror games that can fit the spooky season, and you can really play them all year round, but find that especially during the spooky fall season, they are absolutely perfect. Things like Dead by Daylight or The Last of Us can really get you scared, get you nervous, and I think that that can be the kind of activity that a lot of people appreciate during the stormy fall days. Number 90, this is go wine tasting. Now, I'm not a huge wine person myself, but I did go to a coffee tasting event earlier this year, and even though I don't like coffee, I found that the tasting event was able to show me ways that I could like coffee, like pairing it with certain things. So now I am super interested in going to a wine tasting event because maybe I've just not been drinking wine the right way. Maybe if I paired it with something really specific and they were able to show me this whole new world, I would find that I could like some wine. So I want to go wine tasting this season. It feels like a fall activity and something that I could really do with all of my girlfriends. Number 91, take a pottery class. Again, this is not a fall specific item, but for some reason it just feels fall coated in my heart, so it's something that I really want to do this season. There's a lot of different places that I can look for taking a fall class. We have the Arkansas Museum of Fine Arts. They offer pottery classes. There's some local pottery places where you can make it yourself and they'll kind of fire it up for you. There's also a lot of pottery painting classes as well. So this is something I'm super interested in doing, maybe making like a fall mug or a fall bowl. I think that would be really, really cute. Number 92, this one's a little meta, but start a YouTube channel. I am such an advocate of starting a YouTube channel if it's something that you're interested in. For years, I wanted to start a YouTube channel and I avoided it because I was just terrified. And when I finally bit the bullet and did it, I realized it's not nearly as scary as I thought it was. Not really sure what I thought was gonna happen when I uploaded my first video, but really not that many people saw it and it was fine. Nobody really cared. So I definitely recommend if you have been wanting to start a YouTube channel, whether it's vlogging or gaming or arts and crafts or whatever it is that you want to do, just do it. Just post the video. I promise you it will not be the end of the world. Just post the video. Just do it. I swear you won't regret it. It can be such a fun outlet, and especially if you're going to vlog, it can be a great way to capture all of the memories that you make during the fall season. Number 93, paint rocks to decorate your garden or your walkway. This is something that I've seen a lot online recently, where you just take these rocks from outside and you just paint them. You can either paint faces on them or paint little images or designs on them, and then you can put them in your garden, and I think that they are so absolutely cute. I've been wanting to do this for my garden because a lot of people will like take the rocks and paint the vegetable or whatever it is that they're growing and then place it on that row as the marker for that item. So this is something I am super interested in doing because I am the queen of losing all of my markers and never being able to remember where I planted what and just kind of having to figure it out based on when they pop up. So this is something I am very interested in doing this season. Number 94, make an advent calendar for someone that you love. Again, this is a little bit more Christmas related, but again, fall goes right up until the Christmas season. I think this can be such a fun and loving way to show someone that you care. Just collecting different items to give to someone in an advent calendar form. It doesn't have to be one that you buy, although I know there are a lot of advent calendars that go for sale. I really encourage you to just kind of do this on your own, whether it's you making them something every day, crafting something, or thrifting things. I think that can put a lot more energy and love into the gift itself. Maybe one day they open it and it's some candy, maybe another day it's something you crocheted for them, maybe another day it's a love letter, maybe, you know, all these different things that it could be. I think you can get really creative with making an advent calendar. Number 95, go on a foliage drive. This is one I really want to do because Northwest Arkansas is known for having the most beautiful scenic drives for fall colors. But if you're not familiar with a foliage drive, this is literally going on a drive just to see all of the pretty leaves, to see all of the pretty colors as the fall season comes in and as the seasons change. This is something I really want to do and just take a ton of photos because it is just absolutely gorgeous. Especially Arkansas, I feel like we have a lot of dynamic and diverse landscapes, and so the fall season is just the perfect time to be able to go out and take pictures and really enjoy that scenic landscape. Number 96, make boo baskets for your significant other, your best friend, or your kids. And if you don't know what a boo basket is, it's very similar to an Easter basket, basically, where you get a basket and you fill it with a bunch of items you know that they would love that are Halloween or fall themed. and you give it to them around the Halloween season. I think this is such a cute idea, but I want to challenge you to try to do this with only crafting or thrifting items if possible. I think that makes it a little bit harder, but definitely a lot more considerate and less consumeristic focused. This is something that I'm really going to try to do this year for my partner. Just put all of these items together without it necessarily having to buy a bunch of items to fill it. Number 97, visit a new town nearby to try their local food, to shop at their local stores, and enjoy the fall season in this new town. I think this can be a really interesting way to kind of have like a short vacation, a short trip without necessarily going too far away. A lot of us live next to these small towns that we don't really pay that much mind to. Maybe we only really see them when we drive by. But I think it can be very beneficial to just go to these towns and kind of treat it like a little miniature vacation in the area. Look up the top rated restaurants, look up the best shops, and just go and enjoy the day there during the fall. Number 98, put together a no-sew blanket. This is something that I actually did for a Christmas activity a few years ago, and this is such an easy thing that you can do, very low cost, and it just gives you a nice blanket without having to learn how to sew. If you're not familiar with the no-sew blanket, I'll try to find a video or some kind of instructional tool for how to put them together, but they're pretty simple. You'll basically just take 2 pieces of fabric, whatever colors or textures that you're wanting for your blanket, and you will cut these slits around the edges of the blanket. It'll make it look like there's little fingers sticking out of the sides of the blankets. You'll do this for both pieces of fabric, and then you will tie each of the little finger pieces together into a knot, and when you do this, it will connect the 2 pieces of fabric together, making one large blanket. So I think this can be a cute idea to do for the fall. I already have a Christmas blanket, so I'm really interested in doing this for the fall as well, but it's just a really easy way to make a cozy blanket without having to learn how to sew. Number 99, this one is really specific, but I stand by it, and that is make some chili and cornbread. This is such a fall specific meal and is just iconic and very much necessary for my fall bucket list. I absolutely love chili. Again, it reminds me of my childhood with my mom, and I'm such a cornbread lover, so this is something that I will absolutely be doing for the fall season. And number 100, the final activity on my fall bucket list is to hang a bat box in my yard. If you're not familiar with a bat box, it is basically the bat equivalent of a birdhouse. A lot of people know about birdhouses and love birds, but bats are important too. They are pollinators. A lot of people don't know that. And because of humans and our urbanization, we have taken away many of their habitats. So something that I want to do is get a bat box. I was actually surprised to see you can find them at Lowe's and Home Depot, which is kind of crazy, but you can find other bat boxes from local shops online as well. But these bat boxes basically just act as little hotels for bats to stay in during the day so that they can rest. The same as like a birdhouse. They not only provide them with a place to sleep, but there are some specifications about where you should put the bat box, so I'll put some resources down below on where to put them, because you do want to put them in the right location to, 1, make sure they're found, but 2, also make sure that they are not going to be vulnerable to predators. But with that, that is the end of my 100 fall bucket list items. I am tired, my throat hurts a little bit. That was a lot of work on my end, but I hope this can inspire you to really get out and enjoy the fall season this year. But with that, that's all I have for this video. So if you like this video, feel free to leave a like down below. Feel free to comment any of your favorite fall activities, if there's any one that I listed or ones that I haven't listed. I'm always open to suggestions for what to do during the fall. This is my absolute favorite season. If you like what you see, feel free to subscribe if you want more of this content, or if you just want to see more of me in general. But that's all I have for you guys today. So I'll talk to you baddies later. Bye!